Hi everyone, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And this week we're going to be talking about Black Crypt.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I used to live there. I don't know if you knew that.
Was that the other name of Bud?
It was down in Huntington. No. It was Black Crypt. I used to hang out there, man.
What's the blackest crypt you've ever been in?
That was probably it, yeah. It was no good. Actually, Chad's old apartment in Huntington, the building has been torn down. We were just talking about it the other night. So that place, it had bugs in it the size of a coffin. Wow. It was a massive bug. Yeah, no good.
Well, before we get into that, we've got a couple big things to talk about. Number one big thing is that by the time you hear this, which is going to be on, I think this episode is going to be released on Monday, December 3rd.
Yeah.
Voting will be open for the Amigos Best of 2018 category. So every year, we look back at the games that we've reviewed over the 2018 calendar year.
No!
And we choose the best and the worst of them. And we want you at home to play along too. So I'll have a link in the show notes and a link on all of our social media and Discord where you can go and you can vote for your favorite and least favorite titles of the year. And for our big New Year's Eve show, in addition to our yearly predictions, we'll also unveil the winners of the best of categories.
I'd like to mention that I think the last few years has been a voting issue because games that are awesome have been somehow getting put in the crap category. And I'll use Star Control 2 or Star Control 1 and the Three Stooges as examples of where something the voting, the wires got crossed. So vote more better.
Okay. I also want to thank our buddies Laurent Giroux and Gary and Andrea Hucker.
The Hucks.
They both contributed to the Send Amigos to Ireland fundraiser that we're doing. You know, Amiga Ireland is less than 2 months away.
Man.
And it is, and we are halfway to the goal. So thank you so much to everyone that's donated, but especially to Laurent.
It's very kind.
And Gary and Andrea. Thank you so much for that.
And you're going to rep us on the Emerald Isle.
I'm going to rep us so hard. Ireland may never recover. They may send me to Craggy Island after I'm done.
I have a concern about this trip because I can't accompany you on this trip.
You sound like my wife.
I know, and she's not going either.
She's not coming.
And the concern is that you will you will land on the beautiful Emerald Isle, and then you will leave the beautiful Emerald Isle, and in between that time, you will be laid out drunk at the airport. You've got to promise me with a pile of Amigos cards like laying on you. You know, please promise me that this will not end up in a horrible drunken
I
lushy
promise
affair.
I will not start drinking until I reach the site of Amiga Ireland.
Fair
then
enough.
all bets are off.
That's all you can ask.
All right, Aaron, it's time. I hear the train a-coming. Get on board, Lil Children. It's the gamble train.
Little children? Good God.
What's it rolling into the station with this week, Aaron?
Well, the gamble train, it's only about 3 cars deep this week, folks. But don't worry, our website somehow attached 20 more cars to that train. So it was not a huge news week, but with the holidays here, that tends to happen. However, there was some interesting news. So first off, let's talk about the legend, the man himself, the Dream Catcher.
The gangsta from Manchester.
He's the gangsta from Manchester. You can't make it work, though, can you? I saw a headline for this article, and I turned off the computer and walked away. Entitled, "I thought by now you'd realize there ain't no way to hide your lying eyes." And this is his look at the Lion King, the game. Now, we just talked about Aladdin a while back. This is another Disney property. Now, you know, I've not seen this one either. You know,
You've never seen the Lion King?
I've never seen the Lion King.
Wow. Have you seen other Lion movies?
I have.
Because you made it sound like
I've seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I've seen Paper Lions.
Is that the football movie?
It is. It had Alan Alda in it. I've seen, I'm trying to think of anything else I've seen that had Lion in it. I think that may cover it.
Okay.
But I've not seen The Lion King. And so the game looks great. I've never really played the game either. It looks awesome. And of course, you could tell by the name, by the title here that the DK man uses his own wacky brand of comedy as he goes through these games. It looks good though. Now you've played the game or seen the flick? Anything?
I've seen the movie. I've played the game. I've not played it on the Amiga.
And what did you think?
It's very competent platformer.
Competent. That's the best you can give it. Eh?
The Lion King, and it's as timely as today's headlines because they are remaking The Lion King 100% CGI.
Why?
Because it's going to make a buttload of money. Do you know what the top grossing musical is almost every year on Broadway?
Is it?
It's The Lion King.
I was going to say Rent.
No, it's not Rent.
What about Cats? Is that one still around?
Cats did much better than Rent did.
How about Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I don't know if that was ever on Broadway. That was more of an off-Broadway
It played at Roxy.
deal.
It was a Roxy music. So, anyway, if you're into The Lion King, or you're just into Dreamcatcher, and you should be, go check that out. His stuff's always good. Okay. Hey, listen, it's another week, so you know what that means. It's another release from Amiga J.
Oh, man. They don't stop.
And Amiga J unofficial release. Gray area alert. Remember when I said I'd never say that again? Wrong.
And then you resumed saying it every week thereafter?
This week I promise to never lie. So this is the unofficial CD32 release, the Ultimate Lemmings Collection. Bo, what do we got on here in the Ultimate Lemmings Collection? Do you see a list of what is represented here?
You know, they didn't...
The entire Amiga Lemmings library on one disc contains all six.
Can you name all six?
Lemmings
So
releases.
There's Lemmings, there's Lemmings Tribes, there's probably Lemmings
Christmas
2,
Lemmings.
Christmas Lemmings.
Also, if you look here, it also comes with the playable demos, all the PD games, all the music, and all the demos, and a slideshow.
Yeah, so the official list, still yet unknown to us, because even when I click on the, on the source page...
you don't have to list it when you've gotten them all.
I guess that's true.
That's it. It's got all the Lemmings
Very
games. So if
true.
you're into Lemmings, this is your baby. And who's not into Lemmings?
I love Lemmings.
Me too. I think they're great. So one last little item before we get into the swath of the crap that we've put up this week. Just want to touch up on this. Our good and dear friends over at Indie Retro News have made the announcement for these fellows that Heroes of Gorluth, the game that has been in production for quite a while, is now available for pre-order. The people making this are an outfit called Amy Works, spelled cool guy style.
Mm-hmm. WERKZ?
No, WORX.
Oh,
Yeah.
Other cool guy style.
Much cooler than what you said. These guys were behind, these guys are the ones making the Tales of Gorluth here, or Heroes of Gorluth. This is I guess this is the third game in the series. They did Tales of Gorluth and Tales of Gorluth 2.
Wow.
So, hey, you got to do Heroes of Gorluth. This thing will be coming to your ECS 68020 2 megabyte Amiga. And you can get that, or you can get it as a box CD32 version, CD-ROM, and eventually you'll be able to get a digital download. So it should be nice. They're asking, I believe that is €19.99 euros, which in American money, what, buck 50?
Yeah, I'm here on the page now. It looks like it's available in both if you want the plain Jane CD32 ROM, looks like they're selling it for $16.80. So maybe they've lowered the price since they gave this store to
maybe that
Indie
doesn't
Retro
come with a
News.
box.
Oh, okay.
Something like
That's true.
That kind of
now
shit.
they do have the Mega Pack available, which gives you all 3 Gorluth titles and free shipping for only $29.40.
Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever played any of the World of Gorluth series?
Boy, I'd sure like to.
We might have to hop in on this one.
Yeah.
And throw some dough over there and give the Gorluth games a chance. Hey, new games on the Amiga, it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Keep them coming. I'm happy I'm pleased as punch, as they say. So, Boat, I'm going to throw it over to you to cover the stuff that we've done this week. What do you got?
So over the past week,
Boats went bonkers.
There's been a lot of stuff going on. I had some time off 2 weeks ago, and so I spent almost a full day down in Amigo Studios just playing games and having a blast. It was wonderful.
You've been living the dream.
Yeah. And so I discovered that I really like making port comparisons.
Wow. For a second there, I thought I like to make pornos. What I thought you were
that's Amigo Studios North.
That's exactly what it's like. I thought I really like to make porn. I was like, comparisons. Oh, thank God.
So I've done several for the Amiga versus SNES versions of SimCity you can check out.
Screw you, SNES.
I've done Amiga versus Mega Drive, Altered Beast. You can check that out.
You did this just to spite me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Damn it.
We also released a new Insert Disc 2 where we talk about just a bunch of nonsense.
What did we talk about?
We talked about the free Xbox 360s deal at GameStop. When that was going on.
Do you know anybody that got in on that gig?
Oh yeah. In fact, there were some people that commented on our video. Did
you get one?
I did not get one because I racked my brain trying to think of a reason I could use one, and I could not find
Doorstop, paperweight,
yeah,
expensive CD player.
Even at free, I had to turn it down.
What if does it come with the additional HD DVD attachment?
Oh, if only. Then I'd be on board. And finally, we did this is, I guess, I don't know what we call this. This is just an extra video. We were talking about the PC Classic. And this is 30 games that we demand must be on the new PC Classic system. So, Aaron, you came up with this list mostly on your own because you're much more of a DOS gamer than I am. And I must say that you came up with some great suggestions.
Thank you.
I hope that the Mechers of PC Classic take this video to heed.
They don't want to get on my bad side. I'll tell you something else. I got a list sent over to by our good friend, the Vebke, Graham Vebke, and he had sent me his list of 30. And there was quite a bit of similarity, but he picked out some that I really liked, and his list was awesome. So if you have a list that you'd like to submit, I'd love to see it. Give them the email, Bode.
The email is john@amigospodcast.com. Let us know. Hit us up.
Yeah, or even if it's not 30, it's like 10 or 5 or your favorite game. I love to hear that stuff, and we'll
and don't be afraid to just leave a comment on the YouTube video too.
Yeah. Fire it up.
That way everyone can see it.
I had a lot of fun looking through the old DOS games. Like I said, I did play a lot of DOS games, but that's what I had. It's not like what really spurred us on to making that, which is because I felt bad that people were making fun of this little thing. It's ridiculous. Some people grew up playing ColecoVision, and some people grew up playing Nintendo, and it's okay for everyone to look back nostalgically on the games they played. There's no reason to make fun of them.
Right.
I mean, heck, if they had a Fairchild Channel F Mini, hey, it's still fun. It's fun for them. So there's nothing wrong with it.
And there's much more on our YouTube channel, including a new pole position hack for the Atari 8-bit, a playthrough of Stunt Car Racer for the new port that just came out for the 8-bit. But Aaron,
How was that? Did you like that?
It's freaking fantastic.
Really? How did it compare with the Amiga version?
It rivals the Amiga version.
Those are heady words.
Yes, they are, and I think that they've gone all out on this. I mean, the speed is there, the graphics. I mean, this game was never a real looker to begin with, which helps it in the realm of the Atari.
I'm guessing they got that extra speed by using the same background and foreground graphics on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going
to. I'll tell you. Aside from that, it looks very similar, doesn't it? I mean, it's running very similar too.
And all of the screens are there. It's all the stuff that you expect.
It looks very good.
Yeah. So definitely check that out if you're a fan of Stunt Car Racer or the Atari 8-bit. And finally, Aaron, why don't you talk about this week's ARG Presents? What did you guys get into this week?
Oh, yes. So this week, we took a step out into the unknown. And this is actually one of the few weeks where Brent had a lot more knowledge about these things than I did. We did a show on the Game & Watch, the Nintendo Game & Watch. And we had a lot of fun. This week, since the Game & Watch games are a little simpler, we picked 2 games each, total of 4. And just had fun with it. Brent really knocks it out of the park. He picks a couple really unusual titles. I picked a couple more conventional titles. And we just sat down and had a lot of fun with it. We had a real good show. We really enjoyed it. Coming up the next go-around, we're going to be doing games on the beloved Sega 32X.
I can't wait.
And we've picked a couple doozies, I think. And so we'll have a lot of fun with that. And again, I actually have a 32X. I'm going to drag it out and throw it on the desk there. But we're looking forward to it. But yeah, if you're into Game & Watch or just want to, see what that stuff looked like, some of that stuff, I mean, even by our standards, that's, you probably didn't ever get to play with a Game & Watch in your early days, did you?
I've never once played with a Game & Watch ever in my life.
Oh, really?
When I was in Japan,
I'm surprised.
I drooled over the Game & Watch selection that they had over at Super Potato. the world's greatest retro gaming store.
You know, in wrestling, Super Nintendo would be you
Just a mega punch to the face, right? But they were very expensive.
Expensive. I can imagine.
Yeah,
I loved your Versus videos. They're a lot of fun. I wish there was some way we could compare the Commodore 64 version of Blue Max with the Amiga version, but they didn't make one. Boy, I'm never ever going to get over it.
That's a great idea. You might see something like that coming up soon.
Yeah. If they made one,
we'll just have to wait.
They need
and see.
to make one.
We'll have to wait and see. It's kind of like we were talking about Mate One for a second.
Mate, they don't need that.
I got Mate One from the library with James Earl Jones.
Hey,
is that a good film?
I've never seen it.
Really?
No, Before we continue, let's talk about this fine beverage here.
So yeah, this is the last of the summer wine. This is the last of the great whiskey that Graham Bebke sent over to us. It was probably a year ago. He probably sent it over for Christmas last year.
It was great. So this is for you, Graham. There you go. Salud.
Thank you. And with that, Aaron, it's time to dive in, dive down, and dive deep.
All right. Now,
into the Black Crypt.
I'm going to tell you, Boat. So this is one of those games that I've heard about for years, but I just never got around to trying. In full disclosure, this is another one of the games that requires you would need definitely more than a week to get real far in it, a week's worth of time. But we both had a good hard go at it. In fact, that you actually uploaded, which you should mention that you actually uploaded your playthrough, one of your little play attempts at this. And so if you're
little play, can you be any more denigrating?
Poe uploaded his epic manly performance.
Thank you. Affirmation, baby.
I didn't realize. I didn't even
there was nothing effeminate about my Black Crypt playthrough. Let me make that clear.
It's a little itty bitty playthrough. So now, Black Crypt was released in. Actually, it was released March 20th of 1992.
Odd that we get an exact date like that.
Yeah, sometimes you get them, or I remember to write them down. So, and I even got the price for this one. £25 and 99p.
Okay.
Which in American money, that's $1.50. I don't know what it is. Do you know what that is? I don't know. So it's probably about $40.
Yeah.
Right? So, and this came out in 3 discs. And now published by Electronic Arts, but developed by an outfit called Raven. Now, do you recall hearing of Raven in the past, in your past, Boat?
Boy, he was in the WCW, wasn't he?
Not that, no.
Oh.
What about me? But no, not him.
Oh, okay.
No, this is Raven, the Raven software. So now you're not a PC gamer, so maybe, but it's funny how this dovetails with our 30 games we demand. Raven software is a gaming outfit. They're still around, and this was their first title ever. That was Black Crypt. They've been around since 1990. It was founded by 2 brothers, Brian and Steve Raffle, and guess where they're from?
England?
Wrong.
Oh.
Middleston, Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay.
USA. This was a game made in the USA. Stunningly.
A rare thing for the Amiga.
It was. So that right there got my attention. So these guys, and I love this story. In fact, the story is probably better than the game. The game's good. So the 2 brothers here were they were basically both in the art field. Mm-hmm. Okay. But also they were both they both played Dungeons and Dragons in a group. You know, the role playing game, the pen and paper game. And they played all the big modules, and they decided they thought they could I guess they wrote a module they liked and decided they thought they could make it into a game.
Okay. And
so they got hold of some programmers and formed Raven Software, basically. And this was their game. This game was the springboard for their future success. This was the only game that they ever did on the Amiga. There's no other games on the Amiga from Raven Software. And these guys, really the only person I could find that worked on this game that also worked on anything else, there's the guy that did the sound effects, worked on one other game.
Okay.
So that's it. So think about that.
So, but these guys went on to do other stuff for other platforms.
Oh,
right?
Yes, absolutely. So they did quite a bit of stuff that you may have heard of. So Eventually, they moved on to work on the PC, and some of their early games for the PC include Heretic and Hexan. Have you ever heard of those?
No. Oh yeah, I've heard of Hexan before.
These are
like first-person shooters.
That's right.
Right?
But they're with a magical.
Yeah, like first-person hack and slash.
Right.
Deal.
They were also known to their offices back in the day were right down the street from id Software, and they would actually work with those guys.
Oh.
And they actually used the Quake engine for one of their games. And eventually, these guys took over development of the Quake franchise.
Wow.
In 2009.
From humble beginnings.
And so so eventually, some of the games they released for in the Wolfenstein series didn't do that well, so they ended up being picked up by Activision. So get this. What do they do now? Oh, they do pretty good. Amongst the things they did, by the way, was Star Wars Jedi Knight 2. All right, they did Star Wars Jedi Academy. And now what they do is they're basically an assistant studio to the Call of Duty franchise.
Holy cow.
So they're actually doing the Call of Duty, like they're basically doing some of I'm assuming they're doing some of the day-to-day like programming stuff needed to help out on the Call of Duty games, because there's another main studio that does the bulk of them. But these guys have done a lot of stuff. Now, if you've ever played Quake if you ever played Hexan or Heretic, you will know that it makes perfect sense that they would come from this studio, because effectively, Heretic is a lot like a Doom version of this game. You have magic. I believe you could pick it's one person, but you can pick a class, I believe, as I recall, and you go through a dungeon. If you think about the viewpoint you've got in this game, and the natural progression into a Doom, like, it looks sort of similar. It's kind of like that dark medieval sort of feel to it. Mm-hmm. And Hexan was a very popular game, and so was Heretic back in the day. And they got ported to a bunch of consoles and a bunch of PC. So these guys went on to have really big careers. And again, they were picked up by Activision eventually, and so they're under the umbrella of those guys. But still, I thought that was kind of interesting that they would go on to do something so amazing. The guys that they got to work on this were actually quite impressive. They used a special graphics routine in this to get the look of it. It was called Extra Half Bright Mode, and what that it allowed for a user-defined palette of 32 colors, and then the mode provided an additional 32 colors because of the way it worked. And again, I'm not a programmer, but so what this allowed them to do is, and again, I say the studio, not the brothers, since I don't think they were actually doing the programming, but they basically let this game have more colors on the screen than you would normally see in an Amiga game like this. And so that gives it a little more detail, and as you go through this game and you see statues or engravings and walls or whatnot, and they look a little tighter than you would normally expect. That's because they're using this special mode. And again, I'm guessing, I don't know how many games use this mode, but it looks good. I mean, so the overall look of the game I thought was pleasing.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and finish up the particulars here. What is this game? This game is in the and there's no secret that this game was modeled off of Dungeon Master, if you've ever played that game, or Dungeon Master 2, or it's very similar to an Eye of the Beholder. You are tasked with going into a dungeon with a party of adventurers, and from a how would you explain the perspective on this exactly?
It is a first person perspective.
Right, it's a first person perspective in one part of the screen, and then the rest of the screen is devoted to like.
Right. So you've got, I'd say maybe 3/8 of the screen is, probably 5/8 of the screen is your actual field of view, and then the rest of the screen is you've got your party members, their statistics, your inventory, your spells, all of that stuff. So the actual viewing area of the world around you is quite small in this title.
Yeah. So the gimmick on this game, the plot. The player is given the task of you basically make. There are no pre-made characters. You make your own character, which is cool. You get to make 4 characters. You get to pick what they look like. Now, it's not like there's a ton of options, but there are options, which is unusual. And then you get to assign points to their statistics.
Yeah, so it's very true to its D&D roots.
It is. I mean, it's obviously they monkeyed around with some D&D like rules to come up with this. But it's very similar. And so once you do that, you are off on this adventure. Your goal is to defeat the evil Estoroth Pain Giver. How about that? A powerful cleric that has been banished to the Black Crypt for committing unspeakable acts.
Probably giving pain, I would.
Well, that wouldn't help. The guilds of the country of Astera believe Estoroth is attempting to unseal his crypt, and they send your 4 heroes in to stop him for good. That's the gimmick behind this. So if you're familiar with Eye of the Beholder or Dungeon Master, you'll be right at home here. This is a game with your patented sort of Amiga inventory system for a game like this. You see stuff on the screen, you can drag it down. There are boxes you can drag for your characters, to put all the stuff in there. The combat's interesting in this, in that once you've got your character armed with whatever you choose, and you actually set the marching order and everything, which I like. As you get to the dungeon, when you see a bad guy, you basically click on your character's face,
right,
and that activates the weapon.
And then you swing your weapon, right?
Right. If you're using one of the mages, a mage or a magic person, well, then you'll open up a scroll or a spell book and cast. It's actually pretty good. There's a lot going on in terms of inventory management. This is the part where I'm not as good as I should be. You could put there. You literally load up your character with armor, shields, arrows, whatnot.
And it's neat the way that they do the equipping too, because you actually see the item in question and you click and you drag it onto your body, or onto a representation of your body.
It is neat with a butt, and the butt is you spend a lot of time jacking around. I mean, I spend that's the unending amount of time moving weapons around. And something this game has, you've got 3 stats. You've got hit points. I believe one is food and water. So this is one of those games where you have to eat and drink. All right, I hate that. It's a pain. And so you've got to keep. And so you'll eventually, if you don't have food or water, you'll start dying, and you start to looking for food. And so when you're going, and these dungeons, admittedly, I'll come out and say I only got to the second dungeon, the second level, and they are very tough to get around. Now, does the game feature auto mapping? Yes, it does, with a but. And the but is you have to have, it's a spell. It's very clever, isn't it, Bo, to do it that way. But even with the map, it's not the easiest place to navigate. You can use, in fact, I found this out well into the game, that you could use a keyboard to navigate, because I just kept using the mouse to click the little arrows. So that made it particularly loathsome to get through. But you can also use the numpad or whatnot to move around, which that makes it a lot easier. The graphics are solid. The sound is good. I liked it. I mean, what you're going to be looking at often, because I went ahead and watched some of the gameplay in this, is the same tile set over and over and over. And so if you like looking at large blocks or different colored blocks, this is a game for you. Just off the top of your head, when you first start playing, give me your thoughts.
I hate this game.
Wow. I didn't expect that. Go ahead, vent.
This game, and it's not this game in particular, it's this style of game, where you see about 3 feet in front of you, you're trapped in this dungeon where all the walls look the same. Unless you have auto mapping or you're making your own map on a piece of graph paper.
That's what I did.
You immediately get lost. This is just not the kind of, I know that people love these games. People love Eye of the Beholder, but to me, this is about the least compelling experience you can have with a video game.
Wow. Well, I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. And I can understand your perspective. And this game, and I'm going to give this game some credit and some props. And when I did my research, of course, same thing I always do. I play the game, and then I go looking for research and figure what's going on. Well, this game actually was very cunning. And in the back of the book for this. They actually include the map.
I did see that. I had a PDF of the instructions.
And so, because I mapped most of it before I realized that there was a spell you could get that would map. And so I mapped a lot of it on graph paper. I had some old graph paper from my D&D days. And I will admit, that is one thing I don't miss about these games, is graphing them. And now sometimes it's fun, but the maps in this are real wacky and convoluted, and they're not cool. They're not pretty, and they're just kind of a big. You would never build something this way.
Right. No one would ever tunnel something that looked like this.
Yeah, and so, but what's really tough is when you're scribbled on your map, and then you hear something attacking you, and then you have to throw your stuff down. That I didn't like that, but I mean that's par for the course on these sort of games.
Sure, and let me tell you something else. This is a computerized representation of a dungeon crawl in a role-playing game. Would you agree with that?
This is literally based on this guy's module for D&D.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I love role-playing. Okay. But a key component to role-playing is social interaction between the game master, the characters, and myself. You get none of that in this game. You get no flavor text in the game telling you stuff. You can read what's in the book.
Well, you can read. There are runes and stuff and riddles you can read on the wall.
Okay, yeah, there is some of that stuff, but you don't. Your characters don't interact with each other, and I realize that's par for the course in these games. But to me, if you're going to make role playing, to me, half of the fun of role playing, no. 90% of the fun of role-playing is why you're going through the dungeon and you're beating the baddies is sticking it to the guy that rolled a 1, or rejoicing when you crit or whatever. And you get none of that. You get none of that emotion in this game. It's just, it strikes me as very cold and very sort of, sterile in a way.
What games do give you that in video game format?
Well, I don't think that, that's why I don't like this genre. That's why I don't like let's turn a role-playing game, like a traditional role-playing game, into a video game. I don't think that's good. That's not something that I enjoy playing.
Let's turn back the clock for a minute so I can make a point. All right. This game came out in, I think it was 92, okay, when D&D was real hot still. And when you were at home and you had no one to play with, this game was a pleasant alternative to nothing.
I would rather read a fantasy novel.
Well, it's not the same. This game lets you advance characters. They level up. You make decisions on marching orders. You literally make the character. You name the character. So you have an investment in the characters as much as you would in I can't think of any of these games where it's more in depth. I mean, this is a point in history where it's not like it's not like there are any games where all the characters in your party were interacting or anything. That wasn't part of the game.
Hired Guns, there was interaction between the characters.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that's a whole different type of game.
Not really, though. Not really.
This game, this is your straight up, and part of this thing is you've got to understand. I know the sameness of the levels, and I'll give you that. And I mentioned it myself, but this sort of travel in a game was fairly new.
It wasn't, though.
It was quite impressive.
Look at Wizardry. Wizardry came out in like 1982.
But this looks a lot better than Wizardry. This plays better. This plays a lot better than that. This game, I thought the systems were, as much as I complain about the inventory, I thought they did a pretty good job of making it fairly simple to get to use.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
I think clicking on your character to fight was okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, these combats are in real time. It's not like your Final Fantasy or something where you sit back and you've got turn-based.
Right.
How many games back in these days had any sort of mapping feature at all? I thought that was pretty nice.
For a game in this genre, I think that there were a lot of great features that they did to streamline things and to make things easier for the player.
I wrote down what they had, this little stuff it shipped with. This is on the box, okay? You've got, the half-bright colors, which graphically I think it looks good. Digitized sound effects and music. I think the music's good when you hear it.
When did you hear the music?
The opening screen is awesome.
Okay, because after that, I didn't hear a whole lot.
It says here, intelligent monsters. Each creature will charge, flee, and even ambush your party. That's true.
It is true.
They did ambush me. Mm-hmm. They did charge me, and they also fleed. Auto mapping, 20 levels, right? 50 spells and spell effects. There were a ton. Plus, they had the mundane stuff in there that I like. They've got your dispel and read magics and stuff like that you can use. That made it feel, it made every member of your party useful. You had your magic user, your cleric. They were healing. And I like that. I like the angle that took. It's cool to have the spells. So the spells work cool. You can use them right away on the first level. You find stuff you can use them on. So you get your feet wet and the whole spell. You find lots of scrolls and whatnot. So I like that. It only appeared on the Amiga, so this is an Amiga exclusive, which is cool. You've got, like I said, you've got an underwater level, which was pretty unheard of back in the day for this sort of game. I thought it looked good. I thought it played good.
I think I could get over everything about this game if it wasn't for the perspective. I think to me that's if this game were a sort of Fargo type, top-down roguelike sort of thing, I would be much more apt to enjoy it. I just can't get over not being able to see more than a couple feet in front of you and constantly feeling like you're turning around lost because every screen looks exactly the same.
This sounds like Micro Machines. It's about the same problem with that. You only see a few feet in front of you. Now, I understand what you mean. It's technical limitations of the era.
Sure. If you want to make a first-person game at this time, this is what you'd have to do.
And I don't think this game has the sound. I will say, when I compare this to like Eye of the Beholder 1, which I'm going to, I think Eye of the Beholder 1 probably looks not quite as nice, but the sound I think is a lot better. I think that's why Eye of the Beholder's strong suits. I think party inventory use in this is a lot easier than it is in that. They're very comparable. I know in the second level of this, there was a creature I couldn't kill. Well, I found out you need a special weapon to kill him, which that I didn't know about. But the creatures in this the ones I saw, and then I watched some video to kind of brush up. They look cool. They're interesting.
Sure.
The visual effects on the screen for like magical barriers and spells and stuff look nice. I can understand. Listen, these games aren't for everyone, and I fall in and out of love with them myself, to be honest with you. But I think, as far as this genre of game goes, that this is an excellent example. It's not reinventing the wheel. It has definitely taken its lead from the original Dungeon Master, which I doubt you've played, but it was a pretty famous game. It's on multiple systems. I like the armor setup. I like the fact that you're making your own characters and stuff. That's all neat. Now, what does that do against you? That prohibits you from any sort of storyline that could be given out even in text form.
Well, whenever I have something like this, whenever I have to create a character at the beginning of the game, I'm always wondering in the back of my mind, well, am I sucking because I didn't put all my stats in the right place? How does this affect this?
That's something else we should go into. The stats. I believe you have quite a few points to throw around.
Yeah, you've got 20 points, I think.
And I love games that let you tweak your stats because there's a replay value there. And plus, it's fun to have a character that has a flaw, for example.
Sure.
And I do it in D&D almost every time I play. I have a guy who's got one real low stat because it gives a little flavor.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about it is since I got to go in and pick my players' look and their name, is it helped me remember what they do because it's not really visually shown at a glance.
Sure.
And so it helped me because I could associate somebody with
I used to do that with role-playing games. I did that with Final Fantasy. I'd name my fighter.
Well, I named my characters D&D characters I had of that class.
Okay.
And that's how I remember.
Did you have any K-bar?
I didn't have no K-bar. Was in Werewolf. So no, we didn't have any K-bar in this. But that helped me. Like I said, it looked good. And as I watched, like I said, I only got to the second level. As I looked at people playing this, and we should mention that the levels have traps, the levels have monsters, the levels have treasure, the levels also have puzzles that you have to solve. And there's also some of the levels will have multiple levels on the level. There are pits, for example, and that makes it interesting. There's also, we should mention that there, much like in Dungeons & Dragons, you can sleep and you can rememorize spells. And so they took quite a bit of the rule set for Dungeons & Dragons and put it into this game. It's not point for point.
But I think that the people that made this game really had a great respect for Dungeons & Dragons, and they wanted to do everything they could to translate that into video games.
Sure, and another thing I like is the spell book. You have multiple. You have your spells have different levels, which is just the same, and you can flip to the book.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat touch that you actually flip through a real book.
Yeah, I think that cool. I like that. There were some things I didn't quite understand that I never, that I just didn't feel like I had. This one of those games you really had to take some time. And I will say this game has a rep for being a difficult game. And it was.
Yeah, and it's a double whammy for me because I could tell that it was a game you have to put a lot of time into, and it's also like one of my least favorite genres of game to do.
Listen, I've been there too. I mean, when we did Sim Earth, or was it Sim Life?
Sim Life.
I was like, man, this is gonna suck. I ended up putting a lot more time into it than I thought because I got into it.
Yeah.
But at first, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a real tough one to dredge through because it's just not my bag.
Yeah.
So I fully understand what you're saying. But this game was enough like other games I've played where it wasn't a huge stretch for me to get into it. Overall, I mean, there are things I like, there are things I don't like. I know this having a spelled auto map is cute, but I'd rather have a proper auto map. What I'd like to have is a map where I could take my mouse and put it over a place I've already been, and it would just take me there.
Yeah, or you know what I'd like is pressing M on the keyboard and that map popping up just right off the bat.
Yeah, those are things you take for granted now, but at the time, like that was pretty revolutionary. Sure. I could do without the drinking and eating. I've never liked that in these games. I know it's one thing I just don't like it. I mean, I know you need it to survive, but it's just a hassle. I don't like having to keep up with that stuff. I just want to go and kill. I don't want to think. I want basically this. I want this, but I want Gauntlet. You just go around and crush things. And they're like, Elf needs food badly. I just run over some food. And I don't have to actually think about it. But overall, I was very impressed with this game. And you could definitely see how this team could go in and do other stuff. I'm sorry you didn't like it because I think there's a lot of good game here. I think you can't go against your nature, and it's not the kind of game you like. But I actually,
and I have no qualms about the game itself at all. Like, I think for what this is doing, I'd be hard pressed to come up with a different way to do things for the time that this game was made.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the thing is, there are clues in the game. For example, like I didn't know this at the time. Like for example, the guy I couldn't kill. I looked it up. There's a scroll. It says it sort of tells you what to do, where to go to get what you need. So it's not like they just throw you in there blind. There was some planning. I said these guys were DMs. They wrote this thing, so it was written for someone who knew how to develop a level.
And this is also, this was written in a time when you would get the game and it would come with the big manual and you'd pore over that manual. You'd really soak in the lore. So when you dropped yourself in here, you really felt like you were part of the world. And it's just harder to do that when you've got a PDF on a computer screen. I'm
going to give it some other props. It allowed you to install it on the hard drive.
Oh, that's good.
Which is that's always a big help when you can do that. Like I said, it never got another port, but what it did have is I was reading some forums, I was doing research. Apparently, there was a PC demo of this game, a PC version, and a playable, and it worked. And I don't know how much of the game was there, but apparently it was a release demo. But from what I could tell, they never finished the full conversion of the game. So things that could have been but aren't. Now there's some sort of software out there that people were talking. I think it's called Grimlock. That I guess you can enter games into it, the older games somehow, and it basically play them in it. I don't know. It's probably some kind of tile set. Make your own games, I think. But anyway, someone has made this game for that format. So if you Google that, you'll probably better find it if you want to play this on the PC or play it in a more modern way. The demo for this that was done was in OpenGL, so they had really converted over, but I guess they just gave up on it. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know, maybe I'm not, because what made this game unique and interesting on the Amiga was the fact that it was unique at the time, but the games like this became a lot more widespread for the time that they were pertinent, for the time that they were ahead of the curve before stuff like Doom came in.
I was going to say, was this one of the final these type of games? These sort of single frame advancing.
No, it was definitely not one of the final ones. I mean, like you said, even before Dungeon Master, I remember playing a game on the Coco, I think it was called Dungeons of Dargoth, where it was the same sort of walk a square. So these things. This was not anything new or groundbreaking.
Right. What I mean was this
there were
one
games
of the...
there were games that came after this, and like Isle of Beholder had a sequel, for example, when it came after this. But there was a window where those games came and went. Mm-hmm. And then it's funny, I can picture games like this being in production, and then all of a sudden, here comes like Doom, or even like an Ultima Underworld, where you're just like, oh, well, cancel game, we're boned. This is out, and then you're screwed, So, I looked this thing up. This thing actually got more reviews than any game I've ever seen, ever. This thing they reviewed the hell out of this. I should mention, Black Crypt was nominated for Game of the Year in the Arcade Adventure category and won the Super Accolade Award from Amiga Action Magazine. And it's according to this is regarded as one of the top 100 Amiga games of all time. It got a ton of praise. I'll go down the list here. The lemon score on this thing, very lofty, very heady area of 8.39, very high score. Amiga Action gave it a 93. Amiga Format gave it a 78. So there were a little bit off the board. Amiga Computer gave it an 85. Amiga Joker 83. A lot of 70s, 80s, and 90s. So this was sort of all over the map. Really, you look at these scores, and it's kind of surprising. Like, here's another one. The one for Amiga in 92 gave this a 92%, which I think that's a pretty fair score.
Sure.
In 94, the same magazine gave it a 69. So I don't know what happened.
Doom happened. That's what happened.
Listen, you don't drop this back. I mean, it's a different type of game. Now, I looked this up on eBay, and actually, the only copies I found were in the U.S. and Germany. You can get a box copy of this in the United States for $50 or best offer, and in Germany, I saw it for $40. So it's out there. It is a beautiful game. It's got good, like I said, I like the sound. I like the visuals. If you play it within the context of the time it was released and understand why it was the way it was, I think you can have fun with it. If it's not your bag, like it's not Boat's bag, you're probably not going to like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I'll go back to it. I've got this. I will say the company has a working version of this, so I got to play it a little bit at work this week, and I played it quite a bit there. And I also put it on the Amiga, and it plays well. I had a good time with it. It's a lot of fun. So that's another avenue if you want to play without having to go through the hard drive setup or anything.
Aaron, the holidays are coming.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard about that? Have you heard about the holidays,
yes.
The Christmas?
My wallet's heard about them. It's screaming, no.
One great gift idea. If you've got somebody in your life that really loves the Amiga, you might want to give them a t-shirt from the Amigos Retro Gaming Store over at Teespring. Aaron, we got shirts to beat the band. We got an Amiga Workbench 1.3 shirt that will blow your mind. It might not blow your mind.
It's blowing it right now.
We've got a Guru Meditation shirt. If you want to get on board with the Amigos supporter shirt, we've got that in both t-shirt and hoodie form.
Nice.
We've even got the Boing Ball shirt, an exclusive. The Amiga Boing Ball shirt over at Teespring. So you can head on over to teespring.com/stores/Amigos Retro Gaming. That's Amigos-retro-gaming, because I really know how to make a good URL.
Nice.
And you can get yourself or your loved ones a wonderful Amiga tee for this Christmas.
Yeah, they're good quality, man. I got a couple of these bad boys, and they're still rocking. They look good, man.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Last week, the Patreon Song Challenge. We went a little high class. Last week, the song was Rondo by Murray. Rondo by Murray. Now, you might recognize that as the theme from Masterpiece Theater. Did you ever watch any of the old Masterpiece Theaters?
Is that what you were
That's
singing?
what I was singing.
Wow.
You got it.
Yeah, I used to watch Masterpiece Theater. What was that fella's name that hosted? Do you remember?
That was Don Cornelius.
No. That would have changed the flavor.
So Ricky DeRocher wrote in and he said he got the correct answer right off the bat, I may add. And he said this was also used in several Amiga games. It was used as the theme for the English Civilization and Civilization. It was used as the opening title for both Winter Games and World Games as background music when you view the world record screen. And so,
Good tip.
yeah, thanks for that, Ricky. And Anthony, he is he's GCSE in music. What do you think about that, Biznatch? Yeah, pretty good, right? So he knows.
He caught me in mid booze.
He knows what's up, and after several he knew it was Murray, and he went through every Murray tune in the book until he finally landed on Rondo.
Who wouldn't?
But in his defense, he said that Masterpiece Theater never aired in Britain because that was our excuse to play their shows here.
I see.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So congratulations to both of you guys. That was not an easy tune to get.
How old are you, by the way? Masterpiece Theater hasn't been on the air for decades.
I am 650 years old. So here we go with the new theme. The new theme. This is the new Amigos theme. If you know the Patreon song for this week, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce you among the winners. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tim Drew, Daniel Williams, Robert Edgerton, Simon Rose. That was just the intro. And okay, here's where the verse starts. Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nims, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Shanzo, Darren Lomax, Colin 419, Bachmid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cook, Dan Ross, Leaf Kellon, Alan Kebab, Chicote, Level, John Marshall, Matthew Perrone, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy, CT, The Slow, Norris, Stefford, Sorgart, Mortensen, Edvin Hilland, Blendo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foltz, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Brand Dowdy, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckersey, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rouleau, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbert, Stad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Watts, Pixels of Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman. I saw you looking at your watch. Do you disdain the number of people that financially support this show?
No.
Are you saying that it bores you as I read their names?
Got a mole right there.
I see.
I don't have a watch.
I'll keep that in mind when at our next stakeholder meeting.
Don't have a watch, you see. I thought that was lovely, Boat. Boat, is it? Yeah, that was good.
Next week, Aaron, we're going to take a look at an entirely different game, an entirely different genre.
Okay.
We're going to dive deep, but in a different way. We're going to dive deep into the ocean.
All right.
Silent Service 2, Aaron.
Oh, jeez. Silent Service 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never played the sequel, I have to say, so.
We're going to give it a go. As always, you can check out the show. We record live every Friday around 5:30ish, unless we don't. You can join the party over in the YouTube chat, along with Pixels at Dawn, Ricky DeRocher, Edvin Helland, Free Lunch, Yosef Salim, Paul Harrington's over there, Amiga Dude Furia. So Duncan Styles, you can join the party. There's always a lot of action going on in the chat during the show.
Amiga Dude Furia.
Yeah, that's right.
I like that.
And as always, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and check out all of the long form articles over to everythingamiga.com. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios.